Yeah, that's because of the distortions that these fallen angelics, negative aliens, have done to the planet, our planet's grids. We were once upon a time immortal. We didn't have to feed off of other lives. Animals didn't have to feed off of other lives. But when they mess with planet Earth's grids and reverse it, because they're reverse consciousness, they want reverse energy. So they reverse 2/3 of Earth's fields. And yeah, indigo children, this is like you would say a high, when they come to Earth, they're part human, part alien in their DNA, in their consciousness. They go through something called soul integration process, just like everyone. Our consciousness goes into the body. Same with these starseeds or indigo children. They will actually make birthing contracts with your parents, mother and father's soul level, to get permission. Fallen angels and the negative side, they don't get permission, but the indigos have birthing contracts, and we come in, and you would say, in the womb, you're already activating your heart's, your throat chakra and your third eye. It actually, in Density Universe 3, where we lose gender, we're no longer genders, we're mostly collectives, we're all collectives. And so, but it's projected down into the lower densities as an individual, you see? So when you develop your psychic potential, you're aware of all those other selves. And so we're all collectives.
Okay, this is Mike Sigula from TrueTheory.com, and this is TrueTheory Podcast. And my guest today is Anuhazi, who is the owner of Christos Avatar, an online publisher and teacher of spiritual-related information, mostly focused on spiritual awakening and ascension-related content. Anuhazi's teachings are based on Emerald Order, sacred knowledge, also called the innerchristos law of one, as originally taught by Ashaya Dean. Along his spiritual journey, Anuhazi discovered his identity as an indigo child, which fueled his passion for exploring spiritual topics and helping others on their journey of awakening. So welcome to the show.
Thank you so much, Mike. Thank you for inviting me. This is a great honor to be with you and your audience. Thank you so much.
Thank you for joining me. And you touch on so many interesting topics that I'm very interested in. And I don't know that much about Ashayana Dean, to be honest. I've watched some of her talks and videos from her workshops here and there. And there are some of the subjects there that are very important for me. Things like Archangel Metatron, Michael density levels, the matrix, how the matrix system works, all these different subjects. And I see you touch on these things, and the love one as well, and things like that. So, I thought let's have this conversation, and let's see what you have to say about these topics. But let's start from the beginning. Maybe you can tell us a little bit about, how you get interested in these types of subjects, and what was your kind of awakening, quote unquote, like?
Okay. Yeah. This is something that was a spiritual journey I was on. I was always interested in finding truth, right? And I had my own personal experiences, you would say psychic experiences. Before, I was very secular. I didn't think about the spiritual worlds or all that stuff. So when I had these psychic experiences, for example, I was experiencing one time with a group of friends, and we were just having fun and relaxing, and I had started experiencing empathy, and I didn't know anything about that. I was just perceiving and experiencing like several people in the room. I could feel their emotions. It was so overwhelming. And since I was 3D oriented mostly, kind of scared me. And so, but that is the experience that kind of led me towards exploration. I wanted to understand what that was. So plus I was, experiencing channeling at the time, and I had never studied that or had any interest in that. So it was another rabbit hole that I went down, and trying to find explanations. Back in those days, I didn't know better. So I was looking into the occult. I was looking into New Age. I was looking into some type of explanation. And so that was the journey I went on that kind of led me to what I'm studying now, which is these Emerald Order teachings, originally taught by Ashana Dean, but it's not all about her. She's just one that started talking about it. And it led me to studying it, figuring that I was doing basically what was not in my best interest. So I kind of transmuted a lot of that old practices, and here I am now talking about these Emerald Order teachings. So that was kind of like my background to it.
And you said you experienced channeling. Was it just you were channeling, or you were watching someone channel?
No, I was channeling, and I was experimenting with plant medicine and meditation, crystals, all that. And so it was something that just happened one day with no warning. Nothing led up to it. I was just simply, and when it happened, I started recording my channelings, and that's when I kind of started my first YouTube channel. It had some type of gathering, there was people interested in it, but yeah, that was something that was coming through me, and I didn't know what it was, but it was real to me. I didn't need someone to prove it to somebody because it was happening to me. So yeah, it was something that I was doing and was sharing it with social media.
So you're not 100% sure who you were channeling. Was it like your higher self, or spirit guides, or someone else?
I would think it's a combination. Like, I just want to say that in my now 10 years later plus, I know that's not what we want to do. Channeling is not actually something that these teachings say is something we would want to do, because it's risky. It's even dangerous, because there's something called trance channeling as well. And so a lot of the times there was ideas of what I was speaking to indicate who was the spirit or guide or whatever, angels, and so a lot of beings. I mean, this was something that was just hard to explain, but it was happening to me. I mean, archangel, but like a lot of the popular archangel names, different saints like Saint Germain, but this is a lot of things I've had to understand later that I didn't want to do. So I'm just explaining how I got into all this. So
yeah, I feel like you have to have some methods to figure out who you are channeling, because someone can claim to be some positive entity or
exactly
the opposite. I generally had a bad vibe about Saint Germain.
Yeah.
From what I understand, he was also a Mason, right? And this whole thing about I am presence. I don't know if you heard about this thing. This is supposedly coming from him.
Okay.
So there is this thing that apparently there is something between the source and the higher self, which is called the I am presence. Have you heard anything about that? And this is coming from apparently Saint Germain. And when I did some checks on that, turned out to be a trick. Mm-hmm. A lot of people want to use that to manifest things. So they're going to say, I am whatever, and try to manifest things. And whenever I was doing some research, everyone just repeats the same thing from the same source.
Yeah.
And I never heard anyone else speaking about anything, that there is something between source and higher self in terms of like our higher version,
Right.
So, and when I did some checks I had, because I get also insights about these things, and it was turned out to be some kind of trick.
Yeah.
I don't want to go into that because there was like I had some really bad experience with it, but yeah, I just thought like, because a lot of people have these famous names like you mentioned.
Yeah.
They believe that whatever about these people or these beings is 100% true, but the thing is that sometimes there is so much manipulation going on this planet, first thing, that a lot of the things are twisted or manipulated. And then maybe this being was good 10,000 years ago, maybe it's just more. Or maybe, sometimes even someone can hijack the prayer and you think you pray to the right entity and then they can like hijack it. So that's kind of some of my views. But you also mentioned that, you are an indigo child, let's say. Could you tell us a little bit like how do you define it and, what's your idea about it?
Yeah, indigo children, this is like you would say when they come to Earth, they're part human, part alien in their DNA, in their consciousness. They go through something called soul integration process, just like everyone. Our consciousness goes into the body. Same with these starseeds or indigo children. They will actually make birthing contracts with your parents, mother and father's soul level, to get permission. Fallen angels and the negative side, they don't get permission, but the indigos have birthing contracts, and we come in and you would say, in the womb, you're already activating your heart's, your throat chakra and your third eye. And so as you grow into a baby, a toddler, an adult, indigo adult, hopefully you're going to be activating, and remembering. That's a process. Of course, there's a lot of sleeping indigos that haven't awoken because of all the, like what you mentioned, a lot of distortions in the New Age and spiritual teachings, a lot of distortions in religion. So you would say that indigos are meant to come in and help with the human drama. We're meant to be like the way showers and the trailblazers and helping with the ascension of Earth and the ascension of the humans, because there's a lot of, you would say, blockages happening because of the spiritual bondage, spiritual warfare. There's been manipulation. They have manipulated the human religious systems, the spiritual systems. They've manipulated our DNA. And so you could say the indigo children are countering that. So because we're bringing the freedom teachings, the unity consciousness, Christ consciousness. So the actual difference is the indigos are coming from these. We can get into it, but we'll talk about the reality system of dimensions and density matter. If humans are way down here in dimension 3, the indigos would be coming at the higher dimensions. And so you would say the elder races or the meta-terrestrials, even the ascended masters, that's the indication is the DNA template, because most humans have, our scientists say we have 2 strands of DNA. They call it double helix. That's a distortion. There's actually sleeping DNA, you would say junk DNA, where humans have 12 strands, okay? And so most humans are, though, only at the 2-strand or 3-strand level. Indigos, they have the potential of 24 strands minimum, up to 48 strands of DNA. Imagine that, right? 48 strand versus a few strands. So that is our potential. And that is one thing that I resonated with in these teachings. And also it has to do, if you start experiencing third eye activation, that is the indigo ray, because you have all these chakra. This is the 6th chakra. The auric field is indigo color. That's why they get the nickname. So I honestly, I feel these chakra hardcore, and all the other things I've experienced in my journey, there was more indications of an indigo child. So that was a good question, though. Thank you.
Yeah, and you mentioned actually that the negatives, they don't get permission when they want to enter the physical body as a soul. That's what you meant?
Yeah, they do the same process as we do. They come in, like on Earth, we have hybrids even. You know, the indigo child's a hybrid, but there's negative hybrids like part human, part Anunnaki, part human, part reptilian. Even these people, I don't know if I can say it on your show, the dark illuminated ones, they are also not only human. So, and they don't care about permission. They will come and do whatever they want. And they even the higher selves will even mess with their own lower selves. So, yeah.
But I feel like if some of them incarnate, then, they are born from parents, they will always have an agreement, right? Because they need specific characteristics from the parents as well, right?
Well, they made DNA hybrid bodies down here, so their soul essence is going into not a regular human, Christos connection. So they would have these. They have to go through an awakening too. Maybe they don't know who they are. An Anunnaki hybrid, or that has to do a lot of our history. We have dealt with the Anunnaki, including the Nephilim and all that. So a lot of it is just a process of being used or awakening to, because we all have free will, even if you're following those agendas, darker agendas. We have free will to change. Even the fallen ones can change if they wanted to. So,
yeah. So let's get maybe a little bit into the Oceanic. And you also talk about the law of one. Are you referring to the Ra teachings, the law of one teachings from the 80s, or this is a law of one?
Yeah. Well, it's not. Remember, it's not about Oceana, but this would be the Emerald Order, unity conscious thing. Law of one. It's called the innerchristos. Law of one, not the raw material law of one, because that is more of a new age source. They use channeling, and they use the Bible and all that next to the channeler. It's a whole different thing. So we're not speaking from that law of one. This is based on the Christos teachings law of one. And so, yeah.
Okay. So can you summarize to us a little bit about this work and the work of Oceanic, who is she established?
Yeah, along my journey of learning all this spiritual stuff, and I was a subscriber to Carrie Cassidy. She had a big platform back in the day on YouTube, and she did an interview 10 years ago. Well, actually more. It was 2010. She did an interview with Oceana, and so she's the first one to do an interview and showcase to the world about these teachings. It starts with these Voyagers books, but it goes into a whole bunch of workshops since 1998. And so there's been hundreds of workshops, and it's progressive. She would start from the basics and start moving into the advanced stuff, into, ascension mechanics, scalar mechanics, going into the history, the forbidden history, the forgotten history. And you'll learn that in these beginner books about how ancient humans really are. Most people think we're from Sumeria. What is that? 5,000-6,000 years ago. No, we come from hundreds of thousands, even millions of years ago, because we're coming from another planet. We're ETs. Humans are ETs. We're not from Earth. We came to Earth it's a huge guardian project. But I had learned from Carrie Cassidy about Oceana D, and I got into the material, and that I went into studying it because it blew me away. There's nothing like it on the planet I've ever experienced. I've read a lot of New Age books and the occult and stuff, but when I went into this, it answered all my questions, deep questions, and now here I am teaching it. But so yeah, she's still around, but she's doing her own private thing. She's not in social media. You would have to go to her website and all that. But there's plenty of workshops for people to check out if they're interested in the materials. So,
Okay, and so I know she talks about the guardians, right?
oh yeah,
Anything about who they are?
yeah. In the multidimensional time matrix, which is a hologram field, you would say humans are on the third level of density 1, and so these guardians are coming from density 4 or above. So dimensions 12 up to 15 are what we call the guardians, which are, by the way, living outside of this polarized consciousness. What we experience here on Earth, we're polarized, and so the guardians, they're called guardian angelic nations. So they're ETs, but they use the word guardians, or angels, or yeah. Go ahead.
Positive archangels, basically.
Yeah, because there's negative ones.
Yeah, but this is the same concept as the positive archangels, let's say.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and some of the matrices were coming out of there, because there's different levels of these guardians, but a lot of them that aren't polarized are going to be in the highest levels. And so you could say, there's a whole series of the higher guardians called metaterrestrials who created ETs. They created the planets. That was in density universe 4, dimensions 10 through 12. So those beings are called the founder races. They're the first beings that were created. And so they're all into spiritual technologies, but they know about creating life forms and how to work with the DNA templates, how to modify, how to create their own species. So they created aliens in the lower densities. Those beings would create beings in the other lower densities. So, for example, the humans have a whole line of this, starting from the Elohai, created the Anuhazi, Lyran cat people. They created an Orpheum angel race, and those Orpheums created us. So this is a whole series of guardians, you could say. I mean, you could be a guardian down here, but just realize that our soul essence is coming from the higher levels. And so we go through that birthing soul integration process, and here we are on Earth. So yeah, it would be angels, archangels, higher level called avatars and beyond. So.
Okay, so, but isn't it like that the source creates beings, and maybe some advanced beings can create, beings as well, will delete them or seed them or something? Or isn't it like that the source creates life forms, but higher beings can also do it?
Yeah, we have the time matrix, but there's something outside the time matrix, higher God worlds, you would say, called the Ascended Master levels. And so the Ascended Master levels are Creator God, law of one. All are God, all are one, all are part of the unified field, the consciousness, the spirit, the mind of God. It is the spirit, the mind of God who we are. We are Creator. Creator is all. It is the Creator, source, who projected life into the 15-dimensional time matrix, which is dimensionalized. That means there's different levels of it. And so those are perfected levels. They're direct connection to Creator Source. And so they're not distorted. They can create life. You could call them Creator gods, but gods is a distortion nowadays, just like Ascended Master is a distortion. Most people don't really know what is Ascended Master. We break it down in the creation mechanics of what they are. So these beings created the first founder races, and they have the same potential to create life. I mean, maybe some people think that's impossible, but there's something called the divine blueprint. That means you have a template that creates all your levels from dimensions 1 through 12. So that is something that cannot be corrupted up there. Down here, it can. We could have distortions in our DNA, distortions in our consciousness. And so what spiritual ascension is reclaiming that divine blueprint progressively as we go from 3D to 4D, 5D, 6D, all the way up to 12D. So ascension is expanding back to our self, which is, people use this term, returning to source. We return back to source God on our spiritual ascension journey. So,
yeah. Also, you talk about densities and dimensions, and you know, I had like 7 years of plant medicine session, and in these sessions,
what kind of session?
plant medicine sessions.
Oh, yeah.
Magic math terms.
Yeah.
You know.
Gotcha.
Before that, I had like a Kundalini awakening already in 2008 or 9, and I've been doing a lot of meditation with the third eye activation for like 10 years before I even started doing plant medicine sessions. So when I started doing that, which was 2015, you know, it seemed like I could do anything I wanted in those states. Like I could go from the densities, access the level of the higher self, look into my past lives, get into the bodies in the past lives. I would see myself in different bodies, you know, sometimes and things like that. And I was shown 12 densities, if I remember correctly, and I would actually jump into every density and see how the being sees in that density. So every single time, you know, my vision is expanding and I see more details, more colors. I can look at everything simultaneously, things like that. So I had something, if I counted correctly, 12 jumps, you know, and so until I think 8, it was just different worlds, like just a mixture of everything, you know, different places, different worlds, different technologies, things like that. But once I got to level 9, which, if I remember correctly, if I counted it correctly, because, you know, it was fast and it was overwhelming. I got to some place. So before you had different worlds, different races. It was like a mishmash of everything. But once we got to 9, it was like this white place with massive pillars and golden symbols on these pillars. And I thought this probably could be a level of archangels or something like that. And then there were some levels where Source had, form. Like it seemed like there was a source with a form and had some assistance or something like that. But I don't remember like the details correctly. And to my understanding, there was 12. So what does like the teachings of Ashana say about it? Because you also mentioned 15 and something dimensions and densities. So
okay.
I know if this matches at least a little bit.
Yeah. You had mentioned the 9 level that you saw the light. That is archangel level, by the way. So now there's you would say density matters 1 through 4. That's, each one would have 3 dimensions. So that's 12 dimensions. So yeah, 1 through 12 is the main manifest experience. Because once you get to 12, you can leave the time matrix and go back to source, back to what the Guardians call the key riche, which is the cosmic fields, the primal sound fields. This is where we all come from. That's what populated our time matrix. And so the first 3 dimensions, 13, 14, and 15, those are always there. They're always permanent. They stay there. They're huge gestalts of eternal consciousness. They don't age. They don't die. They're not negative. They're not in polarity. So they are the ones who created the other levels. So it is mostly that we deal with 1 through 12. Just remember the top 3, 13, 14, and 15, are always there. They're the primal light fields. So we have this levels because we have carbon matter here in density universe 1, dimensions 1, 2, 3. So this is harmonics. So dimension 1 would be bass tone. Dimension 2 would be overtone. Dimension 3 would be resonant tone. They work in trinities. So density universe 2, they have 3 dimensions too, dimensions 4, 5, and 6. Now this is like we have carbon matter, but up there in the next density, that's the difference. Is density universe is a level of matter form, and there's 3 dimensions each. So that is carbon etheric matter. You could say they're kind of ghost-like, all the beings who live there. And that's what we call the angel level. And then beyond in the density universe 3, I have a diagram. I could show it on the screen as well. But density universe 3 is all etheric. There's no more carbon at that level. And there's a huge change when you get to that level. Go ahead.
So each density has 3 dimensions.
Mm-hmm.
And
Yes.
the dimensions you understand as like in physics we have width, height, or you mean like astral and
Astral. Yeah.
okay. So they're like astral worlds separate for each density, something like that.
Well, the astral is 4th dimension. So it's astral is in, remember, density 2, what it just said is 4, 5, and 6. Dimension 4 is astral. Dimension 5 would be archetype. That's a level of body, a level of consciousness. The next one would be the 6th dimension. That is celestial. Okay, as you go up in density and the dimensions, your body is becoming less physical. Isn't it interesting? Down here, we think anything physical, we think everything that's physical is real, and everything that's not as physical as us is not real or less real, but it's the other way around. You're more higher evolved when you have less atoms, less of matter form. So, go ahead.
Yeah, sorry. But actually, also you become collective.
Right.
Level wherever 6.
Mm-hmm. Seventh, yeah.
So one entity is in many bodies, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Then above 8, there is no duality. There is no gender, right?
Right.
You're
androgynous.
Yeah, some of the stuff I've been also explained and shown. And I've accessed some of the bodies, extraterrestrial bodies I've had, and I feel the presence of beings. So I could read their aura straight away and know who I'm dealing with, like all the characteristics of the being, without even like touching or anything. I would just know if this male, female, good or bad,
Yeah.
intentions, because you become more energy, so you can feel the, the essence, let's say, or the auric field.
Yeah.
Right? And I feel like that's why indigos are more sensitive and they feel emotions, because in a way you project yourself from the higher density to a lower body, right? So you have some of that activated already, right?
Yeah, it's like we have people think we evolved this way, but we actually come from the top and de-evolve down. So you would say you're lesser consciousness, lesser of a body form as you go down in dimensions. So the purpose is we're trying to go back up. And so, but think about, we start up here. So let's say you have an avatar. The avatar up there would project 12 archangels and density 3. One of those archangels would project 12 angels down in density 2. One of which is also called the soul level. The soul would project 12 of incarnations here on Earth. So 12 is a sacred number, right? But this is actually, we have greater families that go into 144 families, incarnations. So let's say we have one soul and it projects 12 of us down here. So we have different timelines, like maybe you have some of yourselves in Lemuria, some in Atlantis, some here, maybe some in the future time. So those 12, you're going to be ascending by bringing all those lifetimes together, and then you go to the soul level. Then you go through 12 lifetimes there and go to the archangel level, and there It goes up or down, whichever way you want to see it. So it's amazing what you're doing, brother. You're experiencing levels of yourself in these other versions of yourself in different dimensions and densities. I think that's amazing.
Yeah, I mean, it gets confusing as well. The level of this body, and yeah. So just want to kind of get this because I'm having a little issue with understanding. Like densities, we're talking about 12 density, right? Plus 3,
5.
15 total, right?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And this above 12, this is just a creation, source creation or something.
Mm-hmm.
But with each density, and we are entering 4th density now, we are like at the peak of 3rd density, right? That
dimension, yeah. Oh, yeah. Well, we're 3D. We want to go into 4D, and then after that, we'll go into 5D, and then 6D. D as in dimension.
Okay, but we are also in 3rd density at the moment, right?
Yeah, we're simultaneous existence. Like these teachings talk about having 1,728 selves. All people have this. All beings have, like we said, if you add them all up in every density, you have 1,728. Because we also have particle universe, but we're also existing in the anti-particle universe, what you call parallel self. So some of the things that you remember could be from your parallel self. So you're ascending over here, and your parallel self is ascending too. So it's kind of like a unification. And the planets do the same thing we do. They're also ascending. So I can show you the diagram real quick, just for a minute, if you want. I can show it on the screen. And it helps to explain the dimensions real quick. This is a diagram I created, by the way, that can be seen. Let me see. Photoshop. Looks like we got it there. Can you see that?
I mean, for me currently, the connection's not the best, but
okay,
like the viewers will be able to see. Yeah, I've seen this one.
Can you see it? Okay. We're here on Earth, and this is a density right here. This is a density. Dimensions 1, 2, and 3. Here's the next density. It's 3 dimensions each. 4, 5, and 6. The angel level. This is the 3rd density, archangel level. And notice these chakra colors. Most New Agers only are aware of 7. Well, there's more than the crown. You keep going higher to our avatar level. This is where our divine blueprint is. And so these are the density matters, but we come from the ascended master level. And so this is where we all come from. We're all ascended masters experiencing this hologram. So I wanted to explain that by showing that real quick.
There are actually 12 chakras, right?
Yeah, because that is part, there's more, but that is part of the human template. We have all 12, possible potential of 12. So it goes even off your body. You have chakras, morphogenetic chakras that are above your head and below your feet. And so in these teachings, we learn how to activate those higher chakras. You learn how to activate your avatar level, your what the Guardians call the Christos level, the Christ level, the Christ consciousness. And so we are not limiting ourselves to only the crown. And so that is something we awaken in the spiritual ascension process.
Yeah, I've been, experimenting with meditations, trying to activate the other one.
Mm-hmm.
Like sometimes I would do like a visualization, let's say above 10, 20 centimeters above my head, trying to activate that, and I would feel the white light, which was very unusual, like very purifying.
Yeah.
Like this is probably, something like that, right? Is it something similar? You guys teach with activating the other chakras?
Yeah, like we have this root chakra, the sacral, the solar plexus, heart, throat, third eye, crown. But we go into something right here called the thymus chakra. That's gold. There's a diagonal chakra that intersects the third eye. Okay, so that would be the ninth chakra. Now you start going outside the body into the galactic and universal chakras. 6 inches, well, in America we use inches, is your 10th chakra. And then you have 11 chakra, a foot and a half above your head. You have a chakra 6 inches below your feet. And there's one near the earth system. So that's a greater level of your auric field. And then there's a huge, the 15th one is way out there. So yeah, and we learn how to activate those. And we actually jump right to the 12th one, which is a meditation, like you mentioned, doing visualizations. We will do visualizations with the one below our feet, which is pure white. And so that is one that we only brings in. You got to realize that each level of yourself, like the higher levels, have all the other levels, lower levels inside of itself. So if we access 12, that means we're accessing 1 through 12. So that is one of the things we do. We work with the higher chakras. So,
can you tell me a little bit about I forgot what was the name, but the thing Ashayana and you guys talk about that there is this fake matrix, Metatron matrix or whatever, which is based on the Fibonacci sequence, and this aligns with the other one, which is the real one. Can you explain?
Yeah, there's something called.
Why it's called Metatron? Why it's called Metatron?
Okay. All right. It's actually called the Phantom Matrix, but there is a Metatron entity being collective. But the Phantom Matrix, that has a whole history behind it, but it has to do with the mechanics of reverse consciousness. And so reverse consciousness is not the original intention of creator. So it's an unnatural system, but it happened because of, you would say, some of the avatars fell. And so these dark avatars chose with their free will to go against the guardians, to go against source, to go against all life. And so they fell. Go ahead.
Service to self path, like
yeah,
polarity.
Uh-huh.
Yeah. Like Lucifer and things like that, like just choosing the service to self path, right?
Yeah, the guardians call it the path of chaos versus the path of order. And that's a choice all beings. I mean, there's no such thing really as good and evil, but there is a choice of polarity. Path of chaos is taking energy. It's domination. It's all these negative traits, anger, guilt, depression, all these dark energies and that are introduced in the distortions of religion, spirituality. They're the ones distorting our sacred beliefs and sacred teachings. And they've been coming in here for a lot longer than we think. You know, most people don't even acknowledge Atlantis is real, but it is a real place, and we've been distorted since then. But these beings, they started, well, we have to say the universe or the time matrix, the entire thing, according to the Guardians, is 950 billion years ago. So everything got along. Everything was living in unity and living within the Emerald Covenant, which is something the Guardians created, and everyone agreed to that. But there's also free will. So with free will, 250 billion years ago, it was the Anu Elohim family of consciousness who are coming out of the Elohim family's Elohite blue flame, and the reptilians who actually started fighting, and they digressed. They fell in their consciousness. They actually went on a blitz, like a death. They were going around conquering planets. They were into domination and controlling, and so they actually attacked the Guardians. They attacked the planet. They destroyed the Guardian Leon planet. They actually fell in consciousness into a black hole system. They call it the Guardians call it a black hole space-time distortion field. So the religions will call it hell or Hades, but so it's basically reverse consciousness. And so they have they're totally the opposite of what the Guardians are doing. So they fell into this finite existence. There is no life force so they have to steal life force. So that's why these beings have to feed off of our, chakras, our kundalini. They feed off of, have you ever heard of a succubus? I've seen succubus in my own experiences. These beings feed off you because they will be eventually go into a self-destruction mode in the phantom. And so, go ahead.
Okay, I understand that for them to sustain themselves, they need to take advantage of other beings.
Mm-hmm.
But, in a way, everything we do here, if we want to eat, for example, we also take advantage of something else, life forms, animals, plants, and things like that. So, isn't it also taken from the source or some similar trait?
Yeah, that's because of the distortions that these fallen angelics, negative aliens, have done to our planet's grids. We were once upon a time immortal. We didn't have to feed off of other lives. Animals didn't have to feed off of other lives. But when they mess with planet Earth's grids and reverse it, because they're reverse consciousness, they want reverse energy. So they reverse 2/3 of Earth's fields. And now beings couldn't be, you would say, like we used to be Breatharians. We used to be immortal, but as soon as that happened to the reverse grids, now we became aging and dying and becoming mortal and needing to feed, just like the fallen angels are feeding. Now we're feeding off of other life forms. So this is not in the intention. I mean, that's not always what was going on here. We used to be immortal and living the law of one until we got interfered with by these intruder races. And they mess with us, they mess with the planet, and now we're in this cycle of needing to eat something else. But if you're on a spiritual journey, we're not meat eaters. We're trying to go to some more benevolent diet. But yeah, that's what's happened here. Was there something?
Yeah, and I actually heard about these Draco wars with Lyra. That it's called the Great Lyrian Expansion, where supposedly Lyra was attacked. This is where original humans are from, right? By Draco reptilians, and then they fled and started populating different planets as humanoid species, and that's kind of where original humans come from. But there are many different thousands in the galaxy, right? But originally from Lyra. And that's because of the wars with Draco reptilians, right? This is also like the teaching. But
it's in the higher densities, and everything came out of Lyra. All life was seeded there first by the founder races, but because of the warring, the reptilians, they all went to the Orion system after that incident, after that whole drama. So. But we're not coming from reptilians. Humans are coming from the Lyran Anuhazi feline beings. That's why we have the Sphinx on the planet. That marks who we are. That's where we're coming from, not from. And you will have fallen angels telling us they created us. You have Anunnaki telling us they created us. You have reptilians. That's BS, man. We come from, like I mentioned earlier in the show, Elohai, Blue Flame, created the Lyran Anuhazi cat people. They created the Lyran Syrian Anuhazi, and they created the Orphine. The Orphine created us. We had nothing to do with Anunnaki DNA or reptilian, but they will tell us that. They will also tell us they're our gods. They created us and all this nonsense. But yeah, this is something that you have discernment with and check within your own self. Like you're finding your higher selves. Other people can find their higher selves and see, like you don't need someone else to tell you. You can check within. We talk about the inner Christ and the inner God. So,
okay, but can you tell me a little bit? So the false. Why is it called a? I think there was something about Metatron matrix or something I heard from these teachers. Or false Metatron matrix and the flower of life thing.
Yeah.
False symbol.
Mm-hmm.
A little bit about that.
Yeah, the Metatron was a whole incident that happened at those higher levels, and they use reverse mechanics. Like you will learn from certain New Age teachings, you're taking the Merkaba teachings and reversing them, and doing different spin rates, doing different direction of particle spin. They actually and there's something we have to realize that symbols are very powerful, and there are scalar mechanics behind it that affect the same thing with crop circles. Crop circles can affect you in a negative way. So they're using something like the flower of life, which the Guardians actually call the flower of death. It's not teaching you the natural organic ascension mechanics. They're teaching you what the Guardians call metatronic death science, which is the opposite of of life. And so you're not helping yourself, you're harming yourself. Let's say you're working with the flower of life. What if you're working with Metatron or Archangel Michael or any of these fallen systems? You're going to be pulling yourself down into their path instead of the Christic path. So this is something that developed a long time ago. These beings Metatron was a collective. They were once good, but then they got involved with the Anu Elohim and all the things that happened back then, and they were trying to do a rescue mission to help some of these Elohim that were falling, but they got caught up in it. Part of their matrix was pulled down, so eventually there's a lot of details about it, but they fell and started going against all the Guardians, started going against, in the spiritual war. And what did the bad guys do? They pretend to be good guys. So just like we mentioned Saint Germain pretending to be good, well, same thing with Metatron. They bring these reverse sacred geometries to harm us in some way or another, to disempower us, to slow us down, so that's their agenda.
Okay, so like the flower of life basically represents that negatively polarized,
yeah,
and using Fibonacci, etc., which is the negative part, right? That's kind of the idea. And
it's the same with the tree of life. The Kabbalah tree of life is only 10 spheres, but the actual tree of life is 12 spheres. And so you will see distortions like that. And that goes all into the Kabbalah, goes into occult principles. And so it's a path that people choose,
And you mentioned Archangel Michael, and this is interesting because from what I understand, you guys say that Archangel Michael became a negative being, or was always a negative being.
Yeah. It was actually, there's a race called the Necromaton. They're just as powerful and negative as the negative reptilians and Anunnaki. And so they created the personification of Archangel Michael. So it's a collective. It's not an individual entity. It's the same with Enoch or Thoth or any other archangel. These beings are collectives, and so this is something that we learned as being a negative entity, a collective entity. And Archangel Michael was created to lead people astray, to lead them, to distract them. It's the same with the Galactic Federation. It's the same with a few of these councils that people are following. They're actually meant to throw you off. So they pretend to be good.
Okay, but there is no such thing as like two different versions of Archangel Michael. There's a positive and negative, or like he has his inverted version or anything like that.
No, it's a characterization, a personification, and so they actually use technologies that are explained in the Guardian material, how they even involved with the channeling movement. Like they use technologies to intercept channelers or to connect the channelers. All these people following in like the Andromedans, a lot of that channeling is coming from these fallen systems, like the Nephilim, Necromaton, or the Jehovian Anunnaki. They use technologies to channel to people. So people they never ask who they're receiving angel channeling from. They just assume it's good.
Yeah, no, there are methods because everything is based on free will. So when you channel, you can verify who you channel through just like, trying to ask the question about the free will using the free will, right? Because they need to answer or obey in a way, right? And they don't do it.
Well, this is actually, we're kind of against channeling because it is risky, and same with people are doing invocation. They're bringing beings into their energies. Legitimate guardians and indigo adepts don't use channeling. We do something in our own family of consciousness. We go inside to our 1,728 selves, not to some other family of consciousness like Archangel Michael, not to some other spirit, not to some other entity, but we're going inside. It's like telepathy. And so we're going to our DNA, and like you describe some of your experiences, some of those are yourselves. You're not channeling, you're going inside. So there's a difference between entities that are within your own soul family and entities who are not. So, and if you're being contacted, it's not a friendly being like that. I mean,
I can tell you because I used to be very big into Archangel Michael, let's say.
Yeah.
And I had many experiences where, I didn't have any doubts. So it was a positive being. I can give you a couple of examples.
Okay.
For example, because I used to have a lot of negative lifetimes as well. I would see myself as a Draco reptilian, for example, through the higher self.
Mm-hmm.
You can access these different lifetimes. And sometimes I would just enter a body, had same characteristics as in this body, but a reptilian body. And, not only me, my cousin, my ex with my twin flame had these lifetimes, and they also verified it themselves here. So we've been learning quite a lot about these things through these experiences. And let's say, I had encounters with some really nasty beings, including Lucifer.
Yeah.
Like a 2-hour situation with him. And whatever, these guys don't like me because they say, oh, you are a traitor, like you used to be one of us, now we are on the other side, blah, blah. So I had these discussions, and, when I was doing plant medicine sessions, I would often get attacked by reptilians or other beings during the sessions. And sometimes, for example, if I would just think about Michael, just like have a thought about it, straight away they're like backing up, one time I had some, I don't know, that was like some archonic being or someone just trying to mess up, and I just thought about him, and it's like straight away through my third eye I see like, don't call him, like just, or if I would try to call him, they would try to manipulate me to confuse me, and or I had this experience where I entered a level which, probably it's my thinking is could have been a level of higher self, because from that level I could see everything in this reality simultaneously. So like a really incredible experience, see everything on Earth. I see the timelines. I know exactly why things are the way they are on Earth and things like that. So from that level, there was no form there, and there was something about Michael representing the positive side there, but he didn't have a form. And this is not a vision or anything. It's more like, like when you enter a higher level. Like, let's say you jump into a level of higher self. Sometimes I was at this level and I would see the characteristics of myself, still have the same characteristics, like my body here, but, everything, all this reality is happening in my mind there. And I mean, like, some higher reality or something like that. Or let's say, I gotta give you another example. Like some people say that Michael will appear as blue orb. Someone who is psychic might see a blue orb entering the space. And I had these situations where, this is like a long time ago. I would call him, and my ex, who is a psychic, she said, "Oh, blue orb came to the room." And, or like a lot of these things. And the most interesting, let's say, experience I had was, I prayed to Jesus one time, which said I had a vision when I prayed to Jesus. I had a vision of a contract, which was strange to me. Why would Jesus give me a contract, right?
A contract?
Yeah, like a agreement, like a
Okay.
Because I had a experience with Jesus, let's say like 15 years ago, or someone prayed for me to Jesus, and then I felt this love and things like that. I thought, Jesus is the real deal, And I like 2019, I prayed for help with business, let's say, and I was meditating, and I had a vision of a contract, like I signed some agreement, and I felt like that doesn't make sense. Why would Jesus give me a contract, right?
Yeah.
And over the next couple of weeks, my business started moving. I started getting some help with like some partnership I wanted, things like that. But whenever something's wrong, I get dreams straight away. I'm being shown that I'm being, like, there's some demonic figures trying to manipulate me, things like that.
Okay.
At the same time, because I feel my auric field, I started feeling this heavy energy on my back, on the right side, and I had it before. So I thought, probably got myself in some kind of tricky contract with someone and pretending to be Jesus, right?
Right.
And then, then I had this situation where I had this dream of this massive angel coming and saving me. And the next day, I bumped into a meditation, which was actually, about trying to remove karmic contracts, and that you were calling Michael, right? And the same day, when I've done the meditation, the energy on my back disappeared. Everything got clear. And then I had a vision of a massive scar on the right side. So it was like an implant that was removed. So, I got myself in a contract with someone pretending to be a Jesus, right?
Right.
And then they installed something on my back. But later on, looks like Michael stepped in and removed that. And my understanding is that because the contract wasn't valid, right? Because I was trying, Jesus and someone else tried to, manipulate the situation.
Yeah.
That's not valid, so the higher being can remove it.
Yeah.
So I had a lot of these experiences where, I felt like it's just, why would, if I'm being attacked by some negative beings and I just call him their, like, back off, be a trick, It's just hard for me to see it as a trick, because you're saying they're very tricky, right? They're pretending to be the good guys, but they're not.
Yeah, but you have higher selves you have guardians watching over you, helping you, just like you're aware of all these different experiences and lifetimes. Well, those other selves know you, sense you, assist you, talk to you, so what we may perceive as Archangel Michael just could be yourself, and at a higher level, working with yourself. So
I had many of these situations. Like, for example, one time I had a vision, a dream, when I saw a face which looked androgynous, like a male, female kind of.
Mm-hmm.
And I needed some help with some stuff. Within a week, some random guy sends me a Facebook message with a picture of Archangel Michael from the dream, exactly from the dream, half male, half female.
Yeah.
And then I learned from my sessions that this guy, he's a part of my collective. And he had very interesting, similar experiences in his life and things like that. And it's been a lot of really, that's why I'm kind of, I had so many of these experiences over the years, and they were always positive. That I'm kind of, even though these days I don't really work with any of these beings anymore, I still like, and even the funniest thing, I had some of these implants, right? And I had a session done where I got them removed. So I had an implant removed from my back, second one in the spine, root chakra, I had something attached there. And in the past, this happened through a session that I've done of hypnosis. And because I feel my auric field, I feel these implants, after the session, they were gone. I was in such a shock, because like some of them for like 2 years, and I even know when they got installed. And I was actually, at that time, I was praying to Michael to help with these. And this session came. And then the same week, my sister, she bought this little statue of Michael and brought it to me in my room. And it's like, oh, this is a gift for you. And this is the same week when I had a session to remove all these things.
Right.
I always had these experiences, appearing in my visions and things like that. And that's why I'm just, when you guys are saying that he's the negative, that's kind of interesting to me. And also with Metatron, that's another thing.
Oh, you think Metatron is good? Right? Well, it's okay, man. Not everyone has to agree. There's different explanations for certain energy experiences. And so I think it's awesome that you experienced those things. Did you have any experiences with UFOs? Have you seen UFOs or anything like that? Where do you think the implants came from? Right? They came from somewhere.
I had, I was experimenting with manifestations rituals. And that's how I got
rituals.
Yeah.
Okay.
Different. In the past, I used to experiment a lot with different things, and I would get myself in a lot of trouble.
Right. Candle magic or something.
And just sometimes even just write things down or try to use some spells and things like that.
Yeah. Yeah, we all get into some of that, to explain what we're experiencing.
So, it's interesting that some of this is conflicting with UFOs. It's more like on psychedelics, I had a lot of these. Sometimes I would be shown a different, I would have interactions with the being, and they would first project their symbol, like their logo or symbol. For example, sometimes I would be shown a hierarchy, these guys make implants, these guys work with these guys. For example, then my ex, she confirmed some of these races to me because she remembers past lives. So for example, she remembers a life where she says she was collective on, I think it was Mercury. Like she claims that she
Okay.
like whole planet, all the beings were one entity. And she claims that, this UFO came, which had this squid-like being, squid, right?
Oh, okay.
And captured.
That's possible. Okay.
In my sessions, I was shown a symbol which looks like a squid, like M. The legs are like squid type, and it was a
Right.
specific symbol. And I was being explained that they work at Draco, like doing implants and things like that. It's kind of interesting that she also had. I never heard about these from anywhere else.
Yeah.
Did you ever hear about these types of beings?
No, but I've heard of spider beings. You got to realize we have all kinds of beings that look like animals or insects or reptilians, So, yeah, if you had a negative experience, that gives you an idea of what level they're at. So, but I haven't heard squid beings. Back in my day, I would see a lot of octopus. Maybe that was similar, but that was a long time ago, and I don't see those kind of things anymore, after I did a lot of the changes in my spiritual journey.
Yeah. All right. Let's not get into too much of the topic.
Oh, yeah.
My stories. But yeah. What do you think about the transition into like just 5D or 4D?
And then?
Because I think that Ashayana also had a calculation, which was like November last year, from what I remember, where this is the split of timelines, like the final split. Anything about that?
Yeah, the 5D is where we actually come from. So we're actually trying to return to that through spiritual ascension. And so that's the main thing that we're trying to do. But there's different timelines that humans are going to be going into, because not everyone's ascending. I know a lot of people think that the whole planet's ascending, but where do you see that? The whole planet is not awakening. So some are falling. And so that's a different timeline that has something to do with the Zetas and the Dracos that will be experienced, kind of like extraterrestrial martial law. But those who are on a spiritual journey, they're working towards either ascending to one of the positive timelines, such as inner Earth or the 5D Tara. And that is anyone working on their heart chakra and their throat chakra, fourth and fifth. So you want to get to 5D, you need 5 strands activation. So that is what starseeds are working towards, or people on Earth awakening. They want to activate certain parts of their energy fields to go through a spiritual ascension, either at death or evac, because there's a bunch of things going on right now in the polarity drama. So we could see in our lifetime a lot of maybe World War III, maybe some type of negative type of beings landing, or something like that. People are saying we're in the end times or whatever. But yeah, there's going to definitely be expected some drama or problems while we're trying to awaken, because they don't want us to awaken. Humans have the silicate matrix available to them, but they don't want us to. That's why they try to throw you off of your ascension path. So
yeah, like I was getting when I had these experiences where I would see all of the reality from that level. I think probably higher self or something. I could see the timelines from there, and I was before COVID hit.
Oh, okay.
So that something's negative's gonna happen, like it's gonna take over everything on Earth. And when we hit COVID in 2020, I was getting that we were on negative timeline at that time, that we reversed, like we managed to get on the positive, at least like us, because probably the negatively polarized, from my understanding, they're probably going to start disappearing or something, I don't know. But, so there was like a moment where we were on negatives, apparently. Do you think that, let's say if we continue on the positive timeline, do you think they're gonna, like the negative beings gonna start disappearing from our timeline, or like people who are on service to self polarized too much? What do you think?
Well, the ascension is a individualized thing. It's not a planetary thing, because people are on different levels of consciousness, and so some people will go on the timeline, not everybody. But yeah, this is something that we work on ourselves and choose the path of unity consciousness, Christ consciousness, and you would say, unfortunately, it involves the death process. You can't just ascend and start living on a new world. That's kind of a distortion in the New Age. You actually are going to be dropping your body, and then you go through the whole ascension to the other dimension. You have to actually go to another dimension through either your Merkaba field or through death process, and then there's a lot of people who are staying on the negative timeline. This planet is the negative timeline. You want to get off the planet. You want to go to another level of that is done through, like I said, either the spiritual, the physical death. Your consciousness will go through the Ark of the Covenant. It's called portal passageway through the Stargate into the next dimension, and then you'll be in your new body. And at that level, we're like giants. We're immortals, and we're practicing the law of one. And so you would be leaving this negative timeline and going into the other timeline. So this is what we talk about in our ascension process here. So,
wasn't there anything happening in November last year, like some kind of split of timelines, final formation of the timeline or something? I think I saw some video which was based on the teachings of Australia.
Yeah, if you look into the world, do you see that? Do you see people awakening all over the planet? And in our estimation, there's only like 10 million starseeds and indigos who are experiencing psychic abilities. Well, you see the rest of the planet. Look at the news. Look at social media. Does it look like we're in an angelic timeline or some positive timeline? I mean, it just takes discernment. You can see we're gearing towards war. There is no spiritual awakening. There's only a portion of the planet going through spiritual awakening. And it divides. It's going to permanently divide into 3 timelines. So there will be tragedy, there will be war, there will be death, there will be cataclysms. I mean, that's what these big angels want, these fallen angels. They want pole shift. They want to, they even tell us themselves, you look at the Georgia Guidestones, they want to reduce the population. They're in power. They're in politics. They've got the financial system. The planet is going down. This is called descending Earth. So you want to ascend, go through your individual spiritual ascension, and go through to the other timeline. That's how you get to another timeline. You don't stay here. You actually are going to go transitioning. And ascension is basically metamorphosis. You go through a transmigration process. So the stargates are involved.
Also, like my understanding of the timeline, let's say as a general timeline, because we have individual timeline based on our own choice and behavior, but let's say we are currently in a similar timeline because we are experiencing the same world. So in a way, that there is a part of a collective timeline to some extent, even though individually we always have to match whatever is our frequency, right? But my understanding is that first, like the big manipulation and the timeline war is because like the Illuminati forces or these guys, they try to program the masses to be service to self, and through the celebrities and through material capitalistic society, things like that, right? So that's one manipulation tactic, which is to program the masses to act as service to self, right? But the second, what I was getting is that there is a component that seems to be keeping people in whatever, like the timeline or the vibration or maybe the matrix artificially in that low state. So one is the consciousness, we are creators, and they try to manipulate us to shift us into the negative timelines. But the second one, there is actually supposedly some technology or some technique that they use. This is what I was getting. And some people say that there is thing going on the wall that is apparently trying to keep the matrix in a low vibration, that there is some technology on the moon or something like that. What do you think? Do you know anything about these things?
Well, I know that a lot of people say that the moon is fake, that it's not a real satellite, that it's actually an extraterrestrial base. I mean, we get disclosure in Star Wars. We see the Doom Star. We get connections to the Nibiru Battlestar. That's fake, just like the moon is fake, which is weaponized. It's weaponized in many different ways. One way is the artificial gravity now being generated by it. It's also suspiciously in an unnatural orbit. It's not going like a regular moon would do. And also, according to the teachings, an eclipse is not natural. You don't see this on other planets. This happens on our planet, and it's all connected to the reptilian satanic thing. But yeah, there is ETs on the moon, in my opinion. You could even see UFO footage of that.
Yeah, there are claims that moon was brought here from Maldek.
Yeah, Tiamat. Yeah.
Yeah. And apparently this is an Andromedan starship, because apparently Andromedans, they like to use asteroids as their home bases. They kind of make them hollow, and they... What do you think about that?
Yeah, it could be possible, because I think that's a tactic that some of these advanced races use. They can make these observation posts. It could be part of their strategy, and so I if it's Andromedans or whoever, I just know that whatever's happening now, it's not positive on the moon, and that's where you get a lot of the secret space program talking about it as being it is like a station meant to help, have the activity in the solar system. So it's like the headquarters. So, but unfortunately, that's where Greys and aliens and some of our, they say the German society evolved to the moon before the Americans did. But that's a whole nother conversation. But yeah, this is something that's a military thing, installation, I think. So.
Yeah, what I think after studying everything you've been studying, what's kind of the most interesting to you at the moment, or maybe one of the teachings that you find really fascinating?
Well, I just really big into I don't know why, personally, I get really interested in all the different alien races, both positive and negative, that are involved in the human drama right now. And so a lot of those, that's a lot of the videos that I create. And because a lot of people think certain things are good when they could be trying to trick you. I'm not trying to change people's beliefs, but we simply are exposing some of the negative aspects of these races, and people can have discernment, like you and I, we don't agree on everything, but people have discernment and see if what they think about the Anunnaki, what they think about these Lyran Cat people. Because I get, I have over 300,000 plus subscribers. I get all kinds of different opinions. Some people like it, some people dislike it, and and we're not trying, it's not dogma. We're not trying to change people's beliefs. We're offering, hey, this is what is an option out there to consider. So yeah, I get into the aliens and stuff like that. Star seeds, indigos. It's all interesting to me. So
Yeah. So let's say if the star seed incarnates here, and they would, after physical death, they would return to their native density, right?
yeah, unless they got entangled here.
Yeah, unless they would polarize themselves.
Yeah, right. Which,
As a service to self, right?
it's possible to get wrapped up in the drama like everybody else. So it is dangerous for starseeds sometimes.
Yeah, this is what almost happened with me. This is why I was being pulled out to that higher density, because I was being warned about that, because I got polarized.
They target us. Yeah, we're targeted. You know, they want us becoming one of their chosen ones. They want to use us for their agendas. And so a lot of people are falling for these traps. You know, we get ourselves entangled in these. They seem nice and good, but then you find out you're running reverse Merkaba. You're into some distorted concepts. So yeah.
Yeah, you know, another thing that I was getting very strongly, and this is something I was shown as well, that one of the big, one of the tricks, let's say, of the dark side, the negatives, is transhumanism and AI and
Oh yeah.
synthetic version of reality. And I was explaining, you know, that Elon Musk is an antichrist, because actually he's the one that develops these technologies like Neuralink, you know, and actually it's funny, in the Bible they talk about like the mark of the beast
Yeah.
in the hand or forehead. They say the Antichrist is going to do all these tricks, sending fire from heaven to earth, which sounds to me like these rockets that are vertically.
Oh, yeah.
And, you know, so what do you think about, like, this is one of the tricks, right? That they try to get people into transhumanism, because then people become fully controlled and lose their human essence, right?
Yeah, I'm suspicious of most billionaires. So, but yeah, they don't want you to be human. They want you to be something other than human. Notice where genders are now being attacked. Now you have identity crisis. Am I a boy? Am I a girl? They don't want. They will do anything to turn you into a cyborg, turn you into, you know, connected to some network that they can manipulate and control. You know, they want to put a chip in your brain. They want to. So I'm suspicious of Elon Musk too. What is he actually doing? He's talking about all these different technologies, and we think maybe it's good. Like electric cars are good, but maybe they're not. Maybe 5G is not good. You know, all this stuff. We're being attacked by our air, our water, our food, our religion. Now all these negative, powerful energies. I think it's part of their. I agree with you. I think they're using these against us, and it's just one of many weaponized systems.
Yeah. Because like my understanding is that, you know, all these different techniques, whether it's food, pharmaceuticals, you know, these radiation, whatever,
Yeah.
all their purpose is to weaken your energy field. Right?
Exactly.
Through food, through alcohol, through like low vibrations, emotion, all these different techniques, like whatever, they're weakening your auric field, and then a person becomes susceptible to attacks of the entities, right? They can try to manipulate the person when the field is weakened, right? Because it's like your immunity is down, and then the person can be used for whatever the purpose the entity desires, right? So this is like, would you agree with?
Yeah, they know what they're doing, and so they know how to attack our systems and know how to use certain energies. I mean, what do you think HARP is? HARP is one of their weapons to mess with the whole planet's energies and the human energies. So these are a lot of diabolical systems. They use technologies, and so a lot of things that are happening is through technology, and they're mutating our DNA. So that goes back to the whole transhumanism thing. They want to bring us down into phantom. They want us to be forget who we are, forget that we're these guardian race, forget that we're serving the Christos and the law of one and Creator God. They want us distracted and failing in our health, failing in our realizing who we are and what we're capable of. So now we're just some guilty, inferior, sinful humans. Now we're just some lowly creatures. That's what we're starting to think and take on as our identity now. So, but yeah, I think it's bad.
What can you say about Christ? Because, what does Ashela teach about Christ?
Yeah.
We know about Christ consciousness, but that's just something slightly different to Christ, the figure, right?
Yeah.
What's the connection with the Jesus and things like that?
Yeah, we talk about God, we talk about Jesus, just not from the religion point of view. And actually the teachings, you'll read in the Voyagers 2, that there's actually 3 Jesus. Obviously, only one of those are the real one. So we have a 12-strand avatar Jesus. That's the real one. The one in the Bible, according to these teachings, was a 9-strand working the dark path. You would say he brought in the patriarchal creed. Now it's a father God. Now it's, instead of a universal God, now it's a angry God. Now it's a God that is cruel and burning and creating war and strife, killing, wiping out a bunch of races that Joshua was commanded to kill. I mean, that is obviously not love. That is not, and also the Passover, all those things are all negative and dark. And so that was what the fake Jesus brought in this, now you're worshiping, now you're being subservient. That's not what we are. And people who are awakening are suspicious of some of those negative concepts in religion. And so there was Jesus behind the scenes. He was actually writing the true Christian teachings, but those got warped. At many different times, the Bible has been changed or edited. And so, like the Council of Nicaea, for example, they think it was all about, was Jesus divine or not? And what's the date for Easter? No. What do you think the Council of Nicaea was? It was the Illuminati, dark illuminated beings, the Pharisees, the Sadducees, all working against the Christos message. Okay, so there was, the real Jesus was not crucified. The real Jesus came and told us that we're all children of God, and was teaching ascension mechanics and used those mechanics to painlessly ascend himself, rapture, whatever you want to call it. And so, yeah, there's distortion all the way back, not just Jesus' days, but there's distortions in our history and our teachings way back since Atlantis and Lemuria. But Jesus, the real Jesus, one of the other things he was meant to do was to bring in the 12-strand potential, because he's really connected to Solomon, but also his mother was, according to these teachings, was a Ceres Egyptian guardian. So that brought in the full potential of humans. So that is called the Holy Grail line. And so that is now available on earth because of Jesus's work here. And so, yeah, there's unfortunately distortions. And you guys, whatever your belief is, this is no judgment against people's beliefs. If you're listening to the show, this is simply a point of view from these teachings. And we talk about that from, what does light do? We expose that which is a distortion or dark. So, and it's an idea that you can resonate with or not. So,
but you mentioned 3 Jesuses. What about the third one?
Yeah, he was just used for the crucifixion. So there was a crucified person, and it talks about that in here. So they used the third Jesus for that, and the second one is the one that had the Mary and Joseph, and it wasn't immaculate conception, by the way. That was a visitation by a Nephilim ET. So,
Okay. So the false Jesus, this is like negative entity, right? Because I heard this is obviously I'm just saying what I'm hearing because I heard so many different uses from people say that this is the logos, the consciousness of the galaxy incarnated in human form. Others, I heard that actually Jesus was a very cleverly designed being, which has negatives. Like there are a lot of negative light beings that try to use him as a vessel where people say, like they get some effect, but actually they like sack the energy or do contracts or whatever. So like they created this figure and things like that, and there is like negative light beings behind him and things like that. So this is like about the negative one. You don't know.
Yeah, that is something I agree with. So that they talk about the Anu Melchizedeks who brought in the patriarchal creed, and so we're all following the true Christian teachings, but that got warped and changed in those days. I mean, now it's talking about devaluing women. That's the divine feminine. What happens when you make it unequal, right? And so there's all kinds of distortions, and we learned that a lot of these biblical figures, Abraham, Noah, Enoch, these were actually Nibirian family lines. And so they're here because of the hybrids. So a lot of things that happened was actually in ancient Egypt or Atlantis, and a falsified history. That's not our history. That's not where we're coming from. So,
but Enoch, the story of Enoch becoming Metatron, this is real or not?
Well, this is actually one of the incarnations of Thoth. Thoth was Trismegistus, yes, and he was an ancient Egyptian, but he was also incarnated as Enoch, and this is even some of the things that they say that Enoch was connected to the fallen angels. It was the fallen angels who saw the female humans, and they brought the humans magic and astrology, tarot, the occult, and that was the fallen side teachings. And so Enoch was a real person, so was Thoth, but they were caught up. They were actually serving the Guardians once, but then they went out of that and started aligning with the Metatronic death sign. So this is another figure that was good, but then became bad, and then flip-flopped. He flip-flopped a few times because he has free will just like everybody else.
Do you think that, because there's also a theory about Metatron that he's the only archangel that can incarnate on Earth?
Oh, I see.
And do you think some of these, like Metatron, are there incarnated now?
Yeah, it's like we mentioned earlier, they incarnate into their hybrid body forms, so it's not limited to one archangel. I mean, different angels, different archangels their soul essence can come into a hybrid body, and they look like human. We can't tell. So, right?
If they are collectives, right? They would incarnate into many different bodies.
Everybody does that. You do that. I do that. They do that. We are all collectives up there. Actually, in Density Universe 3, where we lose gender, we're no longer genders. We're mostly collectives. We're all collectives. And so, but it's projected down into the lower densities as an individual, you see? So when you develop your psychic potential, you're aware of all those other selves. And so we're all collectives.
But I mean, collectives in this timeline?
Yeah.
One entity being in hundreds of human bodies, for example, in this timeline?
Well, it would be many souls and oversouls that would, from that collective coming down. So yeah, you could see it as that we're all, I mean, same with us, there's 144 of us of ourselves, and that's why we can meet our twin flames and our soulmates. So yeah, we're all collectives, and so we just are incarnated mostly in different time vectors. I haven't heard this concept what you're saying, where one being will be a bunch of beings at once, but we're all simultaneous, we're all collectives. So it's kind of confusing, but
I think.
but they're all collectives. But go ahead. Like Inky.
Melchizedek. What do you know? What is the? Because I'm hearing always Melchizedek.
Yeah.
Exactly what it is about. Like there is a University of Melchizedek or something. I don't know.
Yeah. This is actually there's positive and negative, because the negative would try to pretend they're the positive. So, but yeah, anything call themselves Lord, that's a red flag. Lord Melchizedek, you know it's the dark side. Lord Maitreya, you know it's the dark side. Lord Jesus, the dark side. So anything that has to put Lord in its title, that's a sign of subservience, putting you into subservience. But yeah, this is, what were you going to say?
Melchizedek was a...
Oh yeah, Melchizedek. So yeah, this is our whole time matrix originally was seeded by the Melchizedek ascended masters. There's more than one time matrix. There's 24. But the Melchizedek's seeded life, the ascended master Melchizedek's seeded life in our time matrix. So those are the originally positive guardians. But then you have imposter Melchizedek's, just like you have imposter Violet Flame, imposter Great White Brotherhood, imposter Archangel Michael's, imposter Archangel Metatrons. You have imposter Melchizedek's. And so those are the Anu Melchizedeks bringing you the false teachings of the patriarchy. So yeah, there's going to be some fake ones that we have to watch out for. I always say, check your sources based on law of one. Is it talking and teaching unity? Or is it talking about hierarchy and you must worship something out in the hologram matrix? No, we go inside to find God. We go inside to find Christos. And so anything that is like a Melchizedek teaching you something else, it's a red flag. I have discernment with that. So,
yeah, that's what I say as well. You know, if anything tells you got to worship something higher than
yeah,
that's a red flag to me.
Exactly. Yeah.
I just had a 1 hour or 2 hour conversation with someone who is very serious into Christianity, and you know, I was giving a talk about higher self, and she was like,
"Yeah,
I don't agree with 95% of things what you say."
Blasphemy, right?
Everything in the Bible is real.
Yeah,
I believe everything, and I'm telling her, like, you know, she says she used to be spiritual, but now it's all Bible, and you know, like I'm saying, it's not a good thing to worship anything. You think that Yahweh was a true God.
Right.
What do you think about Yahweh? Is it like a fallen angelic as well?
Yeah, once again, it's a collective, not an individual. Yahweh is a collective connected to Metatron, actually, but yeah, this is the Jehovah Anunnaki, and they are the one that created the Yahweh stories, and all the biblical stories, and so all you have to do is check in what is Yahweh doing. Yahweh is in the Old Testament of the Bible. It's in, you can find the name of the religious God in the Bible. That it says his name is Jehovah in the King James, or it's Yahweh in the Old Testament. And so this is actually, just look at the works of Yahweh. Right? Look what Yahweh has done. He has no problems murdering, no problems sacrificing. That is all signs of phantom beings sacrifice. Phantom beings are creating war. Phantom beings are judgmental and putting down women and demanding blind worship, demanding subservience. So those are signs that those people who are stuck in that belief, they have to have discernment or not. And so their life is dependent. I mean, their outcome of what they're going to be doing in the future is depending on what their beliefs are now. So,
I get a lot of people who are saying that Jesus is the real deal. They pray to Jesus and something happens, but at the same time they follow Bible.
Yeah.
Without Christian. Like, do you think that this is manipulation, or do you think that maybe they're praying to the right Jesus, but the Bible is the trick? What do you think?
Yeah, there's a lot of dogma in the Bible. And so people are just, there's billions of humans following these religions and angry gods. And that is actually a lot of what I talk about in a lot of my videos. I'm trying to, because that's a death grip on our civilization, going out into the matrix and worshiping something. And, going out here, you're giving your power. These are vampires. They don't have, you see, the Phantom Matrix, they're finite beings, so they have to survive off of feeding off of us. So that's why they create religions. So now you're feeding them. Now you're feeding these beings through worship and subservience. And you don't, like you said, they're automatically just believing everything the Bible says when it never occurred to them. Maybe the Bible, it's 2,000 years old. Maybe it was edited once upon a time or a few times.
And it's actually, it has like 45,000 denominations of Christianity. So
yeah, that's a sign. That's a lot of different opinions.
Yeah. But do you think that when they pray to Jesus and something happens, or they feel love, do you think this is the real Jesus, or do you think this is a trick? Well,
humans can genuinely connect to, love, connect to God, but then they, at the same time, they're being entangled in the judgment. Now religion is supposed to make you a good person, a kind person, but then look how people are preaching and damning you, so that, is your religion working? Why are you so angry? Why are you trying to force others to believe, they evangelize, they come to your door and say, believe in Yahweh, follow our beliefs. So yeah, I think that takes discernment. I mean, some people just don't have it.
Well, okay. What do you think about the higher self? Does Stanley say anything about the density of the higher self or anything?
Yeah, and it's a plural. Higher selves. Like I mentioned earlier, there's math in God, there's numbers in God. So we have specific numbers, 1,728 selves, because we have 144 in density 1, and so those are not higher. But in density 2, you have 144. Those are higher selves. You have 144 in density 3, density 4, 144, and then we have all the ones in parallel. And then we have some in centered master levels. So if you add them all up, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, you have 1,728 selves. And so a lot of those, most of those, are higher selves, and that you can experience in your journey, like you are, brother. You're experiencing connections to, and it's always yourself. It's not separate. It's you, just at a future version of yourself that can interact with yourself. That's where the law of one comes in. So we all have these higher selves. We're not guilty, lowly sinners. We're actually, this is why in my group, I call everybody holy ones. Everybody's holy. Everyone's part of God. We all have these divine parts of ourselves, and it's just within our spiritual journey where we start to connect to that parts of ourselves. And we don't need belief, because we will be in a state of knowing. We will see we will experience those other realities and other levels of ourself that people down here don't believe in because they haven't opened that self parts of themselves. So it's a journey. It's a walk, it's a lifestyle.
I can but so this version of myself has one higher self or like many different.
Many. You are a collective yourself, and you're experiencing Earth right now, but our memory is cut off in our DNA. Those other versions may be aware of most of yourself, but when you go through ascension, you're activating your DNA, and that activates your memory, which you have done obviously because you remember, and it can't. You couldn't experience archangel levels like you mentioned and described unless it was activated in your DNA. So you obviously are a starseed yourself. You're experiencing some of those higher selves yourself. I think it's beautiful, actually.
No. Yeah, but it gets a little confusing with so many of these things.
Yeah.
The way, when I was at this with psychedelics, which I consider the level of higher self.
Yeah, definitely.
Like the 3 decades on Earth at that level seem like 3 hours. And it's basically like one life seems like one day.
Right. Yeah, they're at higher particle speed.
So, like the level of consciousness is linked to the perception of time. So, it's a little bit like, because the way I see it, like you have these fractal characteristics. So when you are entering the dream world and you have the avatar in the dream, the time is also distorted. Yeah. You have the higher version of yourself sleeping, and then you have the higher version of yourself projecting this avatar into this collective dream, something like that. That's kind of what's the feeling like.
Yeah, you have immediate higher self in the soul level and what we call the angel level. So that is something that you probably are perceiving like in some of your plant medicine and stuff. So this is just one though. You have actually many, and actually a lot of people who are seeing angels, seeing spirit guides like an animal, like a raven or a lion or a cat or whatever, praying mantis. Those could be versions of your higher selves communicating to you, like in a symbolic form. And so we're not meant to worship them. That's you. Why would you worship yourself? Why would God worship itself, right? So, but a lot of people do end up saying, oh, I was connected by an angel. You were connected by yourself, your higher self, one of many.
That's, in a way, for the higher self, the reality is like a dream that it can change. So it brings you synchronicity, for example, or things like that,
Yeah.
Anyway, this is really interesting that we're almost at 2 hours. So
yeah, it's been a great talk.
And yes, definitely, I feel like we should come back and repeat the conversation, maybe talk about the Merkaba teaching.
Yeah.
That's interesting. And do you know anything about the Runvalo Melchizedek?
Dude, it was so weird. Right before you asked that, I saw Drimblow in my head. I don't know, maybe I knew you were going to ask that. But yeah, it's very interesting, man, because unfortunately, according to these teachings, and Ashiana was actually at one of his seminars before. So he used to talk all the time, and back in the 90s and maybe it was the early 2000s. But according to her, he's teaching reverse Merkaba mechanics. And actually, it's Drimblow. His book is called Flower of Life. He's the one bringing the Flower of Life. The Metatronic, there's something called the Eternal Tree Flowers, or the Tree of Life. But according to her, he's teaching reverse spins or different ratios of because they're very specific in these teachings. They talk exactly what the degrees are, what this rotations and orientation is. And so you could call him a fake teacher or a false teacher. Now, everyone has their own opinions. So I love Drimbolo. When I first saw him, I bought his books, man. I had many wall hangings with the flower of life on it. But hey, this is this is just a trick. So, and what does he do? He talks about Thoth. Thoth is a fallen angel.
He's been channelized them or something.
Yeah, he said he appeared to him physically. And so it's the same with Billy Carson. He's talking about Thoth. You got people talking about these beings as good, but we find out it's not, and you're learning reverse Merkaba mechanics. No, thank you. Have discernment, or I don't know. See what happens when you learn those teachings.
Yeah, but let's leave the topic of Merkaba.
Okay. Most definitely.
Because this is something that a friend of mine, she just started having visions of that, and she's just let's say beginning of her journey, and she just told me like, there is this star. I don't know what it means, but it appears. I described Merkaba as like, yes, this is what it is. Yeah.
Yeah.
And then I gave her a meditation from Grunwald, and she was like, that some negative beings appeared at the end. That's why, I want to know. I don't know anything about that. One of the topics I never looked into.
Explored, yeah.
So that's why, and I expert Ashton and I think about it. But let's leave it for another conversation.
Yeah, definitely, brother.
So thank you, Anahazi, for explaining everything. And thanks, guys, for watching. And thank you for everything you discussed.
It's a great honor, brother. Thank you. I think it's always important for us to come together and speak these things. And your audience, my audience, this is something that we're expanding. We're going through awakening. So thank you so much, man. I hope to see you again. We'll talk again soon, right? So, all right. Peace. Bless you.